Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient slash survivor, doing very, very well. Very happy. We've, I, as you know, I live here in Texas, and we've had some really, really beautiful days. Yesterday was kind of cold, but today is warm again, and in fact, we're expecting some temperatures close to 90 in the next few days. So, looking forward to that. And, this is being filmed just before the Super Bowl. So, look forward to spending the day watching football. And so, thank you for joining us here at the channel. Please like, subscribe, make a comment in the comment section, ring the notification bell so that you can get videos weekly. I post every Monday on this channel. And in addition, we also have a YouTube channel for our cancer conquering community, of which my guest, James, is also a part of. So what I'd like to do at this time is reintroduce our guest, Mr. James Kiesewetter, and this is our part three of our interview series in the last part, and we've got some great topics to discuss. And so I'm going to hand it off to James. James, please reintroduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and we're going to get into a great conversation.
Well, hi, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me back for the third time. My name is James Kiesewetter. I'm a stage 3C slash 4 colorectal cancer survivor, going on 21 years now. Um, I'm also a coach for sales and communications. I help other representatives. I was in the corporate world and surgical sales and pharmaceutical sales for over a decade, and was in the top 10 to 15% nationally. And I help other representatives reach that level. I also work with HSPs, or highly sensitive people, or as I call them, high sensory processors. Um, we're 20% of the population. It's a trait that we have. Our brains are just wired differently, but we take in a lot more information than the other 80% of the population. And we process it at much deeper levels, tend to be more empathetic. Um, and a lot of people can deal with overwhelm and anxiety, especially when they're dealing with work. So, love to work with other people who are having these issues, other HSPs who are having these issues, to help them realize their superpower, because it truly is a superpower. Um, and I'm just thrilled to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, James. And let's get into this conversation. We're going to go right at it. So, you teach salespeople and you've been in sales for a long time. How has your sales career influenced your cancer journey?
That's a great question, Mark. I think that uh, I think that it's been able uh, to teach me how to compartmentalize, um, put things aside, in little boxes, and be able to attack certain things at a time. um, when I was first diagnosed, when I heard those "you have cancer" words, um, it was difficult. I went through my day and a half there where I kind of avoided a little bit while I was working on work projects. Um, but once I was told how serious the cancer was, and how I really needed to focus on my health as my number one priority, my family is my number two, and work needed to be number three. I was able to put that cancer into that box, and really work towards that goal. So I think that a lot of the sales training that I received, um, enabled me to be able to put things into that perspective, and be able to attack things in different ways like that. So
That that is great. Give some specific examples how what you learned through your career helped you. For instance, did it help you with your attitude? Did it help you with your perseverance? Talk about some of those things.
sure, sure. Well, as I've said, staying positive is a major factor in beating cancer. And I've
Why
always been
why
about.
is that?
I don't. I think that it's kind of rallies your body. It rallies you into a motion where you're not only doing things to fix yourself, but you're healing yourself from within as you go. Um, it's it allows you to focus on yourself, um, a little bit more, if that makes sense. I think, I as I said, I learned, different sales techniques and stuff along the way, which helped me to compartmentalize and stuff. But I think it's so hard, Mark, to turn our attention and our focus from the outside world to what's going on inside our bodies, what's happening to us, and it's all equally important to stay positive. Try to stay positive each day, as we go along, because positivity, it tends to heal us faster, um, tends to get us going, get us back in the groove of things. Um, you know, of course, we're going to have our down days when we just don't want to get out of bed, and we'll just pull the covers over our head, and that's okay. Everybody's going to have days like that, especially
Pause you
when you're
right
going through
there.
cancer. Sure.
When you have those kind of days,
Hmm.
what do you do to turn it around as soon as possible?
You know what? I care for myself. I make sure that I'm paying attention to myself and to my needs, and um, what I know, will heal me or will help me. Um, if that means doing something kind for myself, being giving myself grace, saying, if I need to sleep that extra hour, then sleep that extra hour. Um, if you need to take that nap, then take that nap. Go ahead. Do something kind for yourself. Do a spa day, or whatever, whatever you enjoy. If you enjoy getting a massage, if you can do that, I would recommend getting that done. That helps the fluids move in your body. It helps you relax in different ways. Um, you know, but it's important to take those days as indicators that your body needs something more than what you're giving it. Your brain needs something more, than what you're giving it. So make sure that you pay attention to those signs when you do feel like you just can't go on, can't do it. And some days, if you can't do anything more, then take that extra nap, or take that extra couple hours of sleep, whatever. That's okay. Allow yourself the grace to do that, um, because we're all only human, and we can only do as much as we can do. But it's important to focus on not only our physical, well-being, but also our emotional well-being. So I think
Well
that would be
said.
my answer. Thank you.
Very well said. Have you dealt much with your subconscious mind?
Um, I have in therapy. I've worked through quite a bit of the traumas that I've endured through therapy over the years. Um, we're going to talk a little bit more about relationships. about my marriage, how it did not survive the cancer. Um, so it's things that I've had to process. And a lot of those things get stuck in your subconscious. And and you need to kind of release them, um, and to free yourself of them. Stop carrying that weight along with you. Um, it's really important. So yeah, that's kind of a brief answer, but I think that it's important to to try to focus on that. Does that make sense? Is that
Absolutely. I think
okay?
the subconscious mind is so important. We're all like computers, and we are responsible for programming our own computer. So our mind doesn't discern whether or not what we're feeding it is good or bad. It just takes it in and it you know absorbs it. And so if we're telling ourselves, I hear so you hear so we all hear so often, oh, I'm having a bad day. That's what you're telling your mind. But if you're
Right.
telling your mind, I'm doing great, and you may not be doing great, but you're feeding your mind those positive thoughts, and you can turn around a bad day into a good day quicker by feeding your mind positive thoughts rather than negative thoughts. And, the mind is so powerful. And so my suggestion to anybody is always feed your mind positive thoughts because that's what will grow within you. And these positive thoughts will you know, uh, help you in your cancer journey for sure. It's fascinating to me because I deal with so many cancer patients, and he, right away, I always look to deal with the ones that are positive because those are the ones that I feel that are um, are more prone to be able to accept the things that are shared with them. Whereas the people that are negative, oh, woe is me. Why is my day going so bad? Why do I have cancer? Woe is me. They're so focused on, why they're doing bad, and it affects their mindset and it affects their subconscious. And so if you're in
Absolutely.
that state, I would suggest work on yourself and work on things daily. When I was going through the worst stages of my cancer, every day, every morning, I used to go into the bathroom and look in the mirror, and I used to tell myself, "You are going to have a great day. You are alive. You are blessed to have opened your eyes. You have another day that you're above ground and you're on earth. So we're going to make the most of it." And I used to tell myself that every day. And, it's so important, whether you have cancer or not, to
Right.
be positive with yourself. And so, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point, Mark. I was going to say I have those, my positive affirmations too that I used to put on the mirror, so when I would wake up in the morning, I would see that, you're getting healthy, and because what we tell ourselves sticks. It stays in our mind, and it affects our body that way. Our bodies react accordingly. I love the analogy that you used, with the computer. That's what our minds basically are. Sure, we're filled with emotions too, and that's what being human allows us to process and to show. But we have those computers that kick our bodies into motion either to fix things or not. And if we're constantly hearing negative thoughts and negative feelings, then our body's going to react that way. If we're hearing positive thoughts and positive feelings, even if you don't feel that way, just try to tell yourself that, and give yourself those positive affirmations. And it makes such a big change, to try to, affect your positivity. Meditating too works great. I meditate. I do yoga as well. And just being able to try to just do breath work, and breathe. It helps to calm the body down. There are different tricks, doing long out breaths of when you're holding your breath. I do the 4-7-8 method, where you inhale through your nose for four, count of four, you hold it for seven, count of seven, and then you exhale through pursed lips for eight. And that long breath, that long out breath, triggers your vagus nerve and triggers your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in. And that's what calms us down. That's what, and when we're in a calm state, then we can process information and our realities in a better and different way. So I think that's so important, Mark, what you brought up.
Yes, and for any cancer journey, it's about looking ahead and looking at yourself getting better and getting healthy and having that hope and having that drive, because it's not easy. It's really really I mean, one of the things that always stuck in my mind every time I went for some kind of testing was, how in the world did another human being figure out how to do this to a person, it just always blew my mind. I mean, who thought of this stuff? I mean, because it's just like crazy. I mean, and I know you went through all of it just like I did. uh,
Sure.
there's not you feel after a while that there's not a cavity, there's not a vessel, there's not an orifice that hasn't been invaded by what they do. So
It's
it,
so
it
true.
it's not easy. And so, I used to meditate before while I was in the waiting room and get my mind ready for a procedure, and especially the ones that I didn't like. If I had a procedure and I didn't like it before, I mentally just started in the waiting room and I focused and I took all the noise out and I just focused my mind. And so that really helped me. But let's move on to the next phase here and let's talk about uh, some of your relationships. And let's start
Sure.
with your relationships with your two boys and how that evolved.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I fought for my two boys. I really had them in the forefront of my mind as I went through cancer. Um, they were, 4 and 7 at the time, um, approximately, 3 years apart. And I envisioned, I thought to myself, what would these boys be like without a father? Um, and that was really striking for me. Those were in my negative moments when I would think, just reality, just what I was facing. And unfortunately, the cancer changed our relationship in many ways. I wasn't able to play ball with them like I used to, or tackle them, into the leaf piles and you know things like that. But I kind of sat on the sidelines more, and took them to the skate club, and did things like that. Um, but you know, we still were able to talk, and that was so important, was to allow them to process it with you, and to go through different things with you. Yes, they're young, but they pick up on so many different things, so many different levels. They know, when something's going on in the house, or with your body. that you're dealing with it, and no matter how hard you try to hide it. So hiding it, I personally feel is the worst thing you can do, for a child. I think that it's important to include them in the process, um, and to be honest with them and to show them, certain things, um, you know,
So
about.
what point did you actually tell them that you had cancer?
I told them relatively early, because they did rush me from test to test to test. Um, so it was after testing when I first had to have my port installed. Um, I really got into it with them about what cancer was, and that it's this disease that's, attacking my body, and that I need to fight back, and that this is a port that's going to introduce medicine into my body to help get rid of that. You know, um, and they understood it at 4 and 7. They were fully cognizant of what was going on. Um, you know, uh, they could tell because I was more fatigued. I didn't have the drive like I did before to be able to play ball with them and do things like that. But we compensated in other ways. We read more books together. Um, we had snuggle time. Um, did things like that. Just you know, um, making sure that we still had one-on-one time, quality one-on-one time together. Um, that was really important. Um, especially as things we're going to talk about, with my wife. Unfortunately, my marriage did not survive the cancer, and you know, my wife was drifting apart, as she likes to say. She was living blindly in that world. And she didn't see many of the things that were going on. She couldn't process them. She had a hard time doing that. As I said in the first series, I believe, our first interview, she was a sexual abuse survivor, and had her issues with trauma, and dealing with trauma, um, and it was very difficult for her. But so she kind of drifted apart a little bit more, but we tried to bring her in too, into these sessions with book reading and things like that, to try to both be there for the kids, not just me, but both of us, to just to try to normalize life for them a little bit more, um, and let them know that things happen, but we carry on, um, you know, and um, and would hopefully things work out in the end. And they did work out, and I still have the love of my two sons now, 25 and 28. And they've grown into fine young men at this point, and we've been able to carry that relationship all along, and increase it at different levels, as we go, to be more of an adult relationship. Um, and I really credit my boys, my focus on my boys for my recovery, that I was able to get through, and do everything that I had to do. All those invasive probes, and like you mentioned, body, not a body cavity. They don't enter, and it's true. And it's really difficult to get through. But I kept them at the forefront of my mind. So
That's awesome. How how has your relationship grown with them? You know, you've told us how young they were when you started your cancer journey, and now they're 25 and 28.
yep.
How has your relationship developed and obviously it's grown stronger. Talk about that.
It has grown stronger. Part of that came after the divorce. My my wife at the time she couldn't handle things and she stepped outside of the marriage and was unfaithful um, and just wasn't there for me during cancer. She couldn't be there. And I don't blame her for it. It's taken me a long time, going through therapy and all to realize she had her own issues. She made her own choices, and it is what it is, kind of thing. Um, but unfortunately, when she and I split, um, even though we had shared custody of uh, the kids ended up staying with me. Um, so whether it was, I don't think that it was that they felt, that I was in any threat because they knew that I had beat cancer at that point. Um, but they felt safe with me, and we were able to have those grown up relationships that mom loves you as much as she can, as much as she's capable of loving you. Um, and she didn't see them as much as I would have liked her to see them growing up. So they basically grew up with me, and I basically raised them along with the help of their grandmother and and other friends and family and stuff. But yeah, I think that our relationship has only grown stronger over the years, um, and and they're so loving. They're HSPs as well, and I think they emote very well. They're able to build relationships, um, in a way that a lot of people have difficulty doing. Um, that's one of the traits of being an HSP is building relationships and having those special bonds. And so, I think that as they've gotten older, yes, things are different, but and they're more mature and they're on an adult level now, and they still live in the same house. We have our separate parts of the house, but they know that they're they pay for for their um, mortgage, for their half of the mortgage or whatever, or their quarter of the mortgage, or they know that they have their responsibilities and stuff, and so they're adults, but they still have that caring, if that makes sense. So
Let's talk about something you mentioned.
sure.
So, and I know we've talked about it before, and this is what we're going to talk about now is something that's really important, I think, to anyone's life journey, but even more important for a cancer journey, and that's forgiving. And would you mind talking about the way, you dealt with your wife as far as forgiving her?
Not at all, not at all. um yeah, forgiving was a big part. Forgiving her, forgiving myself, for not being there fully, even though yes, I had the cancer and it was holding me back from doing all sorts of things. I was carrying that guilt, and it took me a long time through therapy to finally ask myself that question. Well, what has cancer done for me, not to me? you know why did it come into my life?
That is awesome. I mean, what did cancer do for me and not to me? I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, that is something that I think we all need to um, uh, take on. keep going. I just love that. That's fantastic,
Sure,
James.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it changed things. It shook things up that otherwise wouldn't have been shaken up. I was working long hours in surgical sales when I was diagnosed. I concentrated on work an awful lot. Um, and even when I was on vacation and away, I was still drawn to the check those emails or check those, voicemails. And I think, you know, that enabled me to pull away from that field um, a little bit and be able to do something different. Um, it also shook up my marriage. I mean, my marriage was on rocky grounds to begin with. Um, we had had some infidelity earlier on in the marriage, um, and you know, I had forgiven my wife, and we had renewed our vows, and you know, done all of that, and we probably would have continued, but it wasn't. It just wasn't meant to be. We married very young, and you know, I think that had I not had the cancer, things would have been different, and not in a good way. So I think that the cancer can be a symptom of us doing these things sometimes that we're not meant to be doing. If that makes sense, I don't mean to say that people have brought cancer on themselves because that's not the issue. That's not um, the truth. It's just a side effect. It's just an added thing that kind of comes into your life to shake things up and change things around. And another thing for you to have to concentrate on. So yeah, for me, it was a big revelation about what that cancer actually did something for me and not to me. Because it did take away different pieces of me, you know,
Mhm.
um, and it took away different pieces of our relationship when we were together, um, you know, but it ultimately, I think it worked out for the best. So
Man, I just love what you said. And this has been a fantastic conversation. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And you brought out some points that are really, really good. In fact, I hadn't even considered it, and I'm glad that you did. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's just been such a blessing that we've been able to have these in-depth conversations. I want to ask you one final question,
sure,
and you always know the final one is going to be a
a doozy, right?
um,
I'm
you
ready.
know,
Shoot.
we've gone through the gamut of cancer, and looking back, what would you what is the one thing that you would say to a newly diagnosed cancer patient that you feel is of utmost importance that they grasp, starting out their journey?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, Probably um, to breathe, um, to take it in, and not just react immediately. Um, you're gonna go through all sorts of feelings, you know, um, and then that's okay. As I've said, emotions are what make us human, um, and it's okay to express them and to feel different things. Um, but try to take a breath, and um, have faith, you know. that you can get through this. You can do this. You have the strength within you to get through this. You have the power, the positivity. Um, it's cancer takes away our power. It tries to take away our power, and I think it's important for us to take it back. You know, um, in little moments when you can advocate for yourself. You know, be able to speak up, and if it doesn't feel right, for you, if things don't seem like they're on the right track, trust your gut. You know, and go with it. Uh, I think those are a few of the main things that I would say to a newly diagnosed cancer patient.
That is
Just have faith, have the strength. You know,
absolutely fantastic answer, James. I mean, that really, really excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And
sure.
I'd like to thank everyone out there for joining us here at the Be Your Own Hero. Thank you, James, for spending your time with me and for doing these three parts. And hopefully you have a chance to look at all three parts. And James, one last final announcement. James is going to be joining our Cancer Conquering community on February 13th, right?
Right. Yes.
And so you can see him, if you do not, or if you're not familiar with it, please message me, put it on this YouTube video, and I will be sure that you receive an invitation. It's by invitation only. It's on Zoom. Plus, for the Cancer Conquer community, we also have our own Facebook page, which is private. And this is a great place for cancer patients to convene. And every day I've been posting different questions for people to respond to. And we've been getting some real good activity on there. I think a couple of questions that I've asked lately are how were you given your diagnosis and what did you feel? And, there's some other questions as well. So I just wanted to thank each and every one of you out there for joining us here to be your own hero. Please like, subscribe, make a comment in the comment section, subscribe, and, we'll see you next week. But before that, I just want you, no matter what, appreciate this incredible thing we call life that we've been gifted every single day. And don't waste time. I mean, time is meant to be utilized, and that's why today is called the present. So make the most out of each and every day, each and every hour, each and every minute, and just use your time wisely because time is our most precious commodity, and once it's gone, it's gone. So we will see you next week on To Be Your Own Hero. Thank you so much. Thank you, James. And we will see you next week with a new guest. Thank you. Bye bye.